Hi, everybody. Todd Nash, president of the Oregon Cattlemen's Association, here today with Tara Millan. And Tara, I want you to further introduce yourself, kind of who you are and where you're from and what you do down there.
You bet. Well, thank you. It's nice to see you today, Todd. Thank you for having me. My name is Tara Millan, and I live down in Jackson County. Specifically, I live out on a big ranch in Eagle Point. And I grew up here, actually, and went to Eagle Point schools. I am a plaintiff's lawyer. I've been a lawyer 25 years. Most of my practice is actually against insurance companies. And so that is what I do day to day. But again, as I said, I grew up on a big ranch, grew up in the 4-H system, showing cattle, showing quarter horses. And now that I'm at an advanced age and I have more time, I certainly give a lot of time seeing how I can keep folks connected to agriculture and to the countryside and to rural ideas through community involvement. And so our organization down here, Jackson County Stockmen's, a couple of years ago decided to focus more so on ag education. And the president, Randy Wolf, kind of threw me an elbow and said, hey, why don't you think of something fantastic? And so the Calves in the Classroom project was born. It's really exciting. This is our second year. And what it does is it pairs a 4-H or FFA kid who has a market steer project with a third grade classroom. And so our 4-H and FFA kids are going into these classrooms every month. So from the start of the school year to the end of the school year, they go in and teach a monthly lesson. And the school year culminates then in April with what we're calling Ranch Day, which has been super fun. And so this year, let's see, we have 13 kids this year, and a couple of those kids who are extra gunners, they have 2 classrooms. So we have 15 third grade classrooms, which I don't have those classroom totals yet, but we are thinking we have about 375 kids, that'll be so many kids at our Ranch Day, which will be 2 days. You want me to keep going, Todd? I can talk about
it. I think that's amazing. And that mentorship of young people to young people is a great idea. And it builds up leadership, both in those presenting and provides a scope of work for those younger people to aspire to. So yeah, what a great idea.
It absolutely does. It's exciting and it's fun when you are in the classroom. I get to go to see lots of our kids put on their presentation. Keeps me busy. But what's really exciting is to see our classroom leaders teaching these little people and these hands shooting up with questions and excitement, and all these little kids wanting to talk about cattle, which they are all calling cows. It's great. Also, just as you mentioned, it provides our juniors, or the kids who are leading these classrooms, the opportunity to work on their confidence, on speaking, on preparing thoughts, responsibility, showing up on time, completing their programs. And so it's thus far been wonderful and exciting to see them grow as young people through the year as they become more and more successful, more and more precise with their presentations.
That's great. I've said it before. Jackson County has been the exemplary county for really getting a lot of projects done, and this was one of the ones that I thought was really excellent. You talked a little bit about the kids wearing T-shirts with pictures of their cattle on there. You want to talk about that?
So this is a really neat thing to see. So at the end of the school year in April, we have what we're calling Ranch Day. This year it will be 2 days because there are so many kids. So what happens is these kids are showing up. It's a field trip for these kids. So they show up on the buses. As they're getting off the buses, each classroom is in matching T-shirts. So for example, Mrs. Smith's classroom, they have on red T-shirts, it says Calves in the Classroom, and on the back, just like an athlete's name, it has the steer's name, the steer that they've been learning about all year. His name's on the back, and they are met at the bus with their junior leader. And so you see at Ranch Day these swarms of kids in red t-shirts and blue t-shirts. So it's easy to know where the groups are, but it's a really neat visual, and everyone's so excited. And as they are there at Ranch Day, we have various stations that they move through. So for example, of course, there was a hayride and this big flatbed truck. They went out into the field, and the cows followed. And these kids, some of them who have never seen an animal up close, a cow, they got to feed the cows. They got to actually, this would be the first time on Ranch Day that they get to meet their steer. So there's lots of petting and touching and pictures taken. And then our junior leaders will show them how to fit or do the hair, as we call it. What else do we do? We had a ranch relay. They got to roast marshmallows. That was a big hit. They loved that, with actual sticks and fire, and there were no problems there. We had a wonderful Rusted Gate Farm brought in their big, totally clean cattle truck, and these kids ran through it like a maze with 2 levels. They thought that was really neat. They ran through the corrals. They got weighed. So it was a really, really neat day. They got lunch, and very wonderfully positive feedback from parents, chaperones, teachers, and kids. So much fun. You should come down and see it this year.
I would love to. Um, how did you get into the classrooms themselves, and what level did you go to the school board? How did you break into that, so to say?
So I am fairly pesky. And in the beginning, so last year was our first year. In the beginning, I targeted areas that, after speaking with certain folks in the community, areas that we thought our program might be most needed. And I simply went into the schools and talked with people. I'm good at that, and I enjoy doing that. I like people and I like meeting people. So that first year, it was simply, I sought people out. As word of the program got out, and through the school year last year, through the summer, and definitely at the end of summer this year, my email and my phone is just swamped with teachers wanting this program. Which is great. We have a really big waiting list. For next year, we have more need than we are able to fill, which is really exciting, a little overwhelming. And so it was simply just going out and meeting people.
Well, I think that's fantastic. You were able to accomplish all that in just a fairly short amount of time too,
Yeah.
to have it grow to over 200 kids participating.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to do this in their own community, what advice would you give them, or do you have a contact that they could talk to you? Or
You bet they can talk to me. Absolutely. I think it's actually super easy to implement. It's just communication. And I definitely want to say a big thank you to the parents of our kids who are our classroom leaders. This couldn't happen without those parents. Some of our kids drive, and they drive themselves to their classrooms, but most of our kids, their folks are involved. They get them to their monthly meetings. They drive the steers to the ranch day. They communicate with me. What day are you going to be there? You need to call Mrs. So-and-so. So as long as folks are sure that they have a great community of parents in their ag community, then it's a piece of cake. It's a lot of texting and a lot of phone calls and a lot of follow-up. But I would be happy to help give somebody ideas or get them going. The more, the better. I think this program would be successful anywhere.
well, I I think it's a fantastic idea, especially for those who haven't had exposure to any sort of ranch life. What a great thing! And we have communities that that are extremely rural, where this might not have as much value, but that mentorship always has some value. And I think that in some capacity we could do this. Um, FFA advisors and 4-H leaders, how instrumental were they in this?
Um, well, that's kind of a tough question, Todd. We didn't go to them and ask for input, but there certainly has been input from folks like that as this has developed. It took off on its own, and it didn't need a lot of help from me, really. The kids loved the idea, the parents loved it. And so we didn't involve the schools, but we sure could have if we had needed. I know in our community, if we had needed support from our Eagle Point schools or from the school district itself, we would have had it. But luckily, we have a really great community here who's always willing to help. And I wanted to touch on something you mentioned a moment ago. Our area down here in Jackson County, we still have our rural areas, but we definitely have city atmosphere and city kids, if you will, who have never seen a cow, who have never sat on a hay bale. And this program is super exciting to them. Even when our kids go into the classroom and they're seeing pictures of cows, and our kids are talking about, this is how I feed my steer in the morning, and I go out to the barn in the morning before school. So it's all new information for a lot of these kids who often, don't even get outside much. So, and I think that could be implemented in so many of our communities around Oregon.
Yeah, I agree. It's easy to forget when you live in this industry that we only represent, or we are only a part of about 1.5% of what America is that is directly connected to agriculture. And so that's worthy of reaching out to that 88.5% and making sure that we include them and educate them and become partners and friends with as many as we can. Talk about the rural urban divide, and if we can bridge that at a younger age, maybe there isn't a divide by the time they're older as well. So
I agree with you there. Absolutely. I think just planting those little seeds with these third graders and even their parents coming out to that ranch day, it helps to build a connection. So absolutely agree with you.
yeah. Tara, we're going to come to Jackson County next June, and we're going to have our mid-year there, and we're really excited about that at the Jackson County Fairgrounds. I believe it's going to be June 12th, 13th, somewhere in there. More to come on that, of course, but we're excited to come down there. But maybe you could have a presentation for those that attend when we get down there and explain a little further and have some of the kids there and explain their experiences. And I think that would be beneficial to Oregon cattlemen's as well as the kids that are presenting again. But
I love I think I am on a mountain on that day, on those days, but even better, I think would be to prep the kids. They're very apt speakers. We get them all prepped. They'll give you a heck of a presentation.
okay, what mountain is it this time? I know you
Uh,
climbed the Nally last spring, and that's an amazing achievement.
awesome. Yeah.
And I'll give you a minute to talk about that because that's
Oh,
pretty
really? Uh,
amazing.
well, stop me because I could go on. It was fun. It was super heavy. It was really cold. It was beautiful. And it was miserable also, but I would do it again in a second. Really, really exciting. And in June, we're deciding on a few different places, so not quite sure, but I believe I am gone.
Okay, okay. Well, do you have anything else that we haven't covered here today that you would like to talk about? Jackson County has going on, or anything else that we missed here with steering or calf in the
Well,
classroom?
I think just certainly that I would hope. I always feel like our community here in Jackson County is unique in that we have very, as I said, very involved parents. But in my heart of hearts, I hope that it's not true, that it's not unique to us. I think that a program like this is super easy to implement all through our ag communities on the West Coast, if you will. So I would encourage people, if they just have a question or just want to jaw with me about, what are the ins and outs, I would be more than thrilled to talk to people about it.
I think you're absolutely right on all those points, but it takes somebody to take the lead and to make sure it happens and connect all the dots. And you've done that. Congratulations for doing that. We
I had
commend
lots
you
of help.
and really appreciate your good work there.
I had lots and lots and lots of help, but thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with
Okay,
that, we'll wrap it up. And
super.
yeah, we'll be visiting with you real soon, I'm sure.
Okay, nice to talk to you, Todd.
Nice to talk with you.
Bye-bye.